Welcome back to Furry Trash, the podcast for furries by furries. I'm Rose Get in the Box, and welcome to another episode of the show. This week, all the way from America, in the past. I'm in the future because I'm in Ireland, but it's the one, the only, the marvelous Nefertiti.
Hello, it's me.
Hello, how are you?
Doing pretty swell so far.
I'm a little bit in awe. I fangirled for a little bit there about TikTok and fursuit stuff, and I'm like, oh my god, you're on my show. So people who don't know you, introduce yourself and tell people who you are.
Well, hello. I am Nefertiti. I have been an artist now for over 20 years, and in the last 3 years, I started pursuing fursuit making. It's been one of the biggest challenges as an artist to be able to make something life size in my art. And over time, I decided to start sharing that stuff online. I think one of the first places that I really started branching out to with my work was TikTok, because right about then when I joined, I think it was like August of 2019 or so. I joined right when the raptor masks were getting big, and my account just exploded overnight. And ever since then, I just started posting more and more frequently until the point where I had like a little over 1,500 videos posted on my TikTok in 2 years. And then the ban hammer got me, and that's why I've disappeared from the face of the earth on TikTok.
Oh no, she gone.
It do be like that sometimes.
And how has that affected you? Because I know there's like a bajillion and one different copycat accounts, people claiming to be you, like reposting your videos and stuff. So how does that affect you?
So far, I haven't really seen too much of an issue other than just the irritation of people seeing the copycat account and going, this thing that talks nothing like Neff, never answers questions, reposts cropped content. It must surely be Neff. I'm going to follow it and give it clout. And it's like, there must be one collective brain cell, and the last person who checked it out forgot to return it.
That is so funny.
That's how I feel every time I have people either email me or message me on one of my other socials, and they're like, hey, is this you? And I feel like that meme with Squidward staring at the camera with like hyper realistic face, really grouchy and upset, and it's like, no, that's not me. Check my socials. It's great. There's so much information right there, including the verified accounts that I use. Like, please check the stuff.
People on YouTube are watching me lose my mind because I'm laughing so much that my face is starting to go as red as my hair. And I'm like, yeah, this is so funny.
It's a fabulous matching spree. TikTok in general has just been like a blessing and a curse, but all in all, it taught me a lot about social production, and it's made my content, I think, grow a lot better, making the shorts and learning how to edit things on the fly, and also, of course, blending the humor into my stuff.
And of course, fursuit making along the way, what has been your favorite suit to make so far?
Hard choice. I'd have to say it's a very, very close tie between doing Winza 2.0 or doing the Scout cat fursuit that I finished recently, because that fursuit looked awesome, and just everything about it I was so incredibly happy with. And I still kept the moving jaw functional for once, which is like the hardest thing to do.
You went to Megaplex recently. What was that experience like, going to a quote post-COVID con?
The way that staff went around, and anytime there was a remote spill on the floor, they were on it immediately, cleaning it up. They were constantly sanitizing. They required masks throughout the whole space. There was hand sanitizer stations everywhere. There was cup stations for water that were one-time use cups so that nobody had lips clapping on top of stuff. There was masks inside the fursuit headless lounge, so that even when your head was off, you could still wear a mask and make sure that everybody else was safe. It just generally was very, very clean. The hotel grounds were also very clean, like gorgeous resort. I've never been to a resort quite like that. The pool was amazing. There was a waterfall, water slide, like, oh, it was so cool. As far as interactions went, majority of people seemed to be respecting the rule of, not getting all huggy in everybody's face, trying to stay 6 feet apart. everybody I'd seen, aside from like maybe one or two people total throughout the entire weekend of being there, had their mask on at all times. And it was just generally handled really well from what I've seen. But nothing's perfect. And it looked like after the fact on Twitter, there were a lot of people that came forward saying that they had issues. So I guess it was like a mixed bag. You know, the staff did what they could, and they are taking accountability for the bad things that did happen. But to my knowledge, it wasn't the super spreader event for COVID like a lot of people were predicting it was going to be. They were expecting like hundreds of infection cases from that con, but there was only, I think, 2 people that have come forward and say that they tested positive.
I have to say that was very well done, the megaplex. Even I was a bit shocked at like you said the water stations, like how you can have a mask on. I recently went to this thing above in Dublin like a month ago now at this stage, and it was a photo shoot, and I went around in suit in Cairo for the whole day. And I managed to wear a medical mask under my suit. And like, yes, I needed breaks in between stuff because I was just rushed. But like the thought of going around a convention that like is typically hot anyways, and you're walking around wearing what is a massive couch and a medical mask, that is mad impressive.
In Florida, humidity, I might add, was constantly humid. Like the walk between the hotel and the main con space, I think the temperature was only like 85 or 90 degrees, which it's hot, but it's like I live in the desert, so 85, 90 degrees, I'm like, okay, whatever. But because it was 100% humidity, it was like, oh my god.
My little Celsius brain has to translate that. I'm sorry, because
I think it's like 30 is the conversion.
That is wicked hot. Like in Ireland, our quote heat wave was 25 degrees Celsius, and people were dying in that heat.
That's the biggest thing I've ever heard from any foreigner who comes to America, particularly to the west coast of America, where we have the dry, intense heat. Like they don't call this area Death Valley for nothing. It's hot. So
one thing you're known on TikTok for is your amazing fursuit talent quality. Like it is stunning. One thing I absolutely love is this feet you've made. I was reached out with a friend of mine, Lanky Lunatic, about these fursuit feet, and they're like supportive around your ankle, and that they're not like at an angle. There you can wear them like normal shoes. And I saw them, and I'm like, they are incredible. How do you like adapt fursuits for peoples? Yeah, English is great there. Fantastic.
That's one of the things that drove me to try and develop my pattern a little bit more, because I love the way that digigrade suits look. And even on the few digi suits I've seen other people before, because I'm one of those kind of reverse engineer creators, and I've seen other makers' suits, and I look at their work and I look at how it's constructed. And then I ask the person, like, what are some things you run into that cause problems? I then take that information and try to adapt it to make everything more comfortable. Because of that, I adapted my feet patterns so that now they wear just like a normal shoe. And I try to include athletic shoes in them with memory foam so that the sole support is really comfy. I can stay in my fursuit feet for 10, 12 hours and it doesn't bother me at all. I never experience foot or leg pain.
That is incredible.
It's just a lot of figuring out what works, what doesn't work, and then positioning the foam so that it doesn't interfere with your joints. And ever since I followed Spirit Panda on Patreon and saw how they did zip-on feet to the bodysuit, that has been an incredible lifesaver.
And the fact that you can like blend fursuit parts so flawlessly is incredible.
It's one of the things that I love to do because in my work, I like to blur the line between costume and performer. I like to really just bring that life into my work. And one of the things I just always get kind of irked at is when I see beautiful fursuit feet all the way down to the digi, and then right at the disconnect between the foot and the ankle, it just looks like big clown shoes because there's no blending or anything between the joints. And it's like, things like that, I try to work around in some way without reducing too much mobility so that it looks good, it feels good, and it moves good.
And speaking of parts, how did you start to get part, I guess, in the furry fandom?
That's a hard one. I want to like go in depth at some point on like a YouTube video to fully explain it because it's going to be like a long explanation. because years and years and years ago, I was DeviantArt. Like DeviantArt was my go-to for everything. And I remember seeing every so often furry stuff pop up. And I was one of those people that was like, furry stuff, that's like a kink, right? Those guys are weird. I don't want anything to do with them. I'll never wear a fursuit. Years down the road, I was like, I guess I'll branch out to fur affinity. Like, I'll get more people to watch my stuff and maybe I'll get commissions. So I make an account and I explicitly remember in the description having, I'm not a furry, or if I am, I'm maybe like a diet furry, but I'm not into that part of the fandom, if you know what I mean, winky face. And it was like, oh no, younger me, why? Why did you do the things you did? On FA, there's a lot more fursuit posts, and I started seeing more and more of them popping up, and then they started popping up in my YouTube recommended, and I was like, bro, I can't escape them. Once you see them one place, they're everywhere. I feel like all the kids in my TikTok section, oh my god, why is this on my FYP? And then one day I sat down and I watched a video of Telephone interacting with kids, and I was like, well, that's kind of cool. It's like they are the character. They're bringing that character to life. They're like a living cartoon. I wonder how much one of those is. When I knew how much fursuits cost, I was like, I'm fresh out of high school. There's no way I can't afford something like that. So I just kind of put it on the back burner and I was like, I don't think I'll ever own one, but maybe I'll go to a convention. I don't know. 2018 rolls around. BLFC is in Reno, Nevada. That's only like a 7-hour drive for me. So I was like, that's not bad. 7 hours to go see a furry con? I don't need to fly that far. So I'll drive, I'll check it out, whatever. But me being me at 2018, fresh into the furry interest scene, I was like, I need a suit to attend a convention. I cannot attend without one because all the photos I've seen, everybody's in suit. And I think that's kind of what leads to that stereotype of you cannot attend a convention without a suit because that's all you ever see are the suit photos. And that led me to 2018 going, all right, it's in Reno. It's not too far. I can drive. I can bring a suit, but I can't afford a suit. What's the answer? Well, I'm an artist. I can make stuff. I've made sculptures. I've made plush toys that at the time were absolutely horrendous. I had very bad sewing skills back then. But I've made things before. And I was like, it can't be too hard to make a fursuit. I'm sure I can figure it out. It's just foam. And because I'm going to do a dragon, I'll just use fleece on it. Like, it'll be fine. So I looked up, I kid you not, 1,000 hours worth of tutorials between YouTube, like Reddit posts, DeviantArt, Fur Affinity, anything and everything that had to do with information. I invested that much time into learning how to do it. And I created my very first fursuit, which was just a head and tail of Nefertiti. She was not the best. She's definitely a, like, I want to quote Sky High Studios, first fursuit energy. She does not fit at all. She like crushed my head. And I just thought that, yeah, that's what they're supposed to feel like, right? They're supposed to hug your head. Could barely move in her head because of how it was. She was like smooshed up against my nose. Her mouth is like all the time. It's just, oh, she's so first fursuit energy. But I took her to BLFC, attended the convention, and after that first interaction, I remember approaching the dealer's den, putting on a pair of professional grade paws, and I was like, oh no, now I'm hooked. That's all it took. I just put the paws on, attended my first furry convention, and I was like, I want to do more furry stuff. So then I started doing more research into character creation, and I think it was early spring of 2019 when I created Winza, and Winza became my fursona. And from her, I started growing and making more suits and more suits and more suits and growing on social media and more suits until eventually I'm at the point now where I've made over 30 heads, which is bonkers to think I've even made that many. Went through the list, checking them all, and I was like, dang, I really did do a lot of these things. Just all this stuff and growing. And the more that I grow as a furry, the more I interact with the community, the more I personally love it. I've never been happier. I'm growing my own personal business. Like I am almost self-sustaining with my own artwork, which is just the dream goal, I think, of any artist, to be able to have your art be your goal and be your job. And through the furry fandom, I met my significant other, whom I love with all my heart and soul. And I don't think I've ever met a more perfect human being for me ever.
That is so, so adorable. And actually, speaking of the community, so on Twitter, thank you first of all for putting this up on Twitter, because I was quite nervous to ask you. We have some fan submitted questions. Some of them we've already answered in this little chat, but we can throw them in there anyways. And I'm going to attempt to answer them from Twitter. I put it in some other Telegram chats, and I think you put up on Instagram as well. So yes. I'm going to get to the ones that are here in front of me right now on Twitter. And if you're someone who submitted questions on Twitter, thank you for submitting them on Twitter questions. I can't speak, but thank you. It's appreciated. People on YouTube can see me doing the heart thing. Not
the
very
beautiful
well.
Heart fingers.
It's not working that well, but it's there. Okay, so from you done vids for tutorials on the articulated foam-based tails or digigrade additions to feet/hooves. Been looking for some for my projects as I have some large hooves and want to upgrade a large tail. I can't. Yeah, that's a long thing there, but basically, have you done videos on articulating feet or hooves?
Yes and no. Like, to answer the first portion regarding the articulated tail, I did have a supermotion tail tutorial on my YouTube channel like almost a year ago. Mm-hmm. And I initially took it down because there were very, for lack of a better word, boo-boo tips that I put in it that were like, why did younger me recommend that? Please don't do that. And I wanted to make a new one, but life kind of got in the way, and it's been a year since I took it down. So I am working to actively redo that tutorial, and I do hope to get it uploaded sometime within the next month or so. Mm-hmm. It depends what YouTube votes on the community hub for the order of tutorials that they want. And regarding the hooves, I'm going to assume you mean the ones that allow you to stand on like your tippy toes, like the really thin ones that have like a high-heeled shoe without the heel almost. Mm-hmm. Those ones are significantly harder to make because they're going to be very taxing on your actual foot. And it's something I do want to tackle, but I don't have any plans to do so in the near future. It's a lot of figuring out and engineering, and you have to have a very stable base. So there's lots of stuff that goes into that. So I'm not sure when I will be able to tackle something like that.
But at some point, it'll happen at some point.
Yes.
At some
like
point.
All things, I do plan to make tutorials for just about everything I can possibly come up with. It's just a matter of time.
There is a lot of if people are wondering why I'm looking at my phones up, it's because as I'm actively talking to you, there is more coming in and I'm finding it hard to keep up. So do excuse my lack of professional brain and not looking directly at you for this whole thing. Right. The next question from Muttbutt: what are some tips you would give yourself when you first started making suits?
The biggest thing, just because you shortcut and save money on a material doesn't mean it's right. I honestly wish I would have saved up a little bit more money when investing in materials to get the proper safe stuff instead of just chopping and saying, this will be good enough. And on that same tangent, don't just stop at one singular tutorial. Like, don't just Google fursuit head tutorial, click the first result, watch that one, and then try to make it. Reference a bunch of different ones, because I noticed that there's a couple tutorials that are really big, really popular, always come up as the first result, but the making technique is not good. Like, you're going to have significant problems in the future. You're not going to breathe very well. It's going to be a pain to wash. Its construction's really poor, so it's just going to fall apart. I wish the people that produce tutorials like that would do the right thing when they know it's outdated and take it down and update it with a better version so that that doesn't continue to happen. But just save up for proper safe materials and don't stop at just one tutorial. That's the best intro advice I can possibly give.
Right. Next question from Volt the Duchy. What does it mean to you to be a furry?
That's a very get on my knee and put the hand up to the head thinker pose kind of question. Because to me, being a furry is like having a hobby that allows you to bring animation and characters to life. You're breathing a magic into the world that is so rare these days that you never see it anymore. Even if you're not a suitor, just interacting and engaging with a community that takes everything that we've built. The entire furry community is built on our own concept. We're the one fandom that's unique in that aspect, that we're not a fan of something. We are a fan of ourselves, so to speak. You look at like comic book heroes, Marvel fans, video game fans, there's fandoms for everything, no matter how small. Single indie games even have their own fandoms. That's how Undertale got so exploded. It just started as a single little indie game that didn't really anticipate taking off, and now it has this massive fan base. But the furry fandom is unique in that aspect, that it's built up on itself, on its own original concept of anthropomorphized animals. We breathe something different into the world, and being a part of that community is like putting a little bit of that sparkle, that saturation, and just that magic back in the world. And that's why I love being a furry. It's just rekindling that imagination and wonder that so many people let go when they reach adulthood.
That's incredible. That got very philosophical there, and I was just like,
that's the thinker pose. You got to bring it out.
That's the thinker pose. So another question here from Rose Thorn 300 is, I know some people who drink bottled water in the suits. How do you not spill it while drinking the water?
Well, I personally prefer smart water bottles. Hashtag not sponsored, but please.
Yeah, please.
Smart water is like my go-to, because for one, the electrolytes are amazing when you're sweating and working and moving a lot in suit. Like that is ultimate restoration right there. But smart water bottles are also very long, lanky bottles, so you can fit them into just about any fursuit head. It'll go all the way down the muzzle into your human face, which I think one of the most confusing things that people have ever said about fursuits is, how do you guys like eat or drink through the head? Like, is it just a mesh thing? Because I've seen people that just, they close off the mouth and there's no breathing hole, which is like, honey, no, please, you have to breathe. You need a hole in that mouth. Usually you'll just be wearing a balaclava that, for some people, to keep the illusion that there's no person in there, they'll pull the balaclava up over their mouth and nose, especially with COVID. And they'll cover that part of their face. But when you go to take a drink, you just pull it down and then stick the water bottle all the way down your fursuit face into your human face, take a drink, and then just tip the water bottle back. Like, it's just about the same as taking a drink if you have like a really weird hat on with a brim on it that you can't tip a bottle all the way back without knocking your hat off. Just tip your whole head back and there you go.
Well, hats off to anyone that can pull that off. I personally can't do that, take the head off whenever I need a drink, because I can't fit in me mouth. It don't fit. Speaking of fursuits and fursuit heads, opinion on use your own eye fursuits.
That's an interesting one, because I've seen it done really well. Like Captain Boons. If you've never seen Captain Boons and you don't know who he is, please go look up his channel and his content, because he's just absolutely fantastic. And I always smile when I see his videos because he's so quirky. And his suit that he made, his suit that he made has use your own eyes, but you really can't tell most of the time because he's wearing his sunglasses on top of it. But even when he isn't wearing the sunglasses, his eyes are blended really well and it looks really good. But I've also seen some, like, not naming names, Netflix sexy beasts, where those eyes don't look good at all. And it's really uncanny valley and creepy. So it's a 50-50.
Actually, when you say use your own eye fursuits, first of all, we've interviewed Boons in the past, and one downside of the show then was that I didn't have a video portion of the show, so it was audio only. And one thing I wish I did, and like looking back now, I wish I could do now, but would to have Boons back on and do a tutorial of some sort, because we had Shatani Cheetah on. Shatani is another use your own eyes fursuiter, and Shatani is incredible the way she interacts, because she has like her own prescription glasses she wears, and it's so much fun to like watch the face interact, because like I wear glasses, so you expect a suit to like have the glasses under it, But then when it's like exposed and your eyes are like following it, and it's incredible to see this like cheetah woman walking around with glasses on. I just think, and like, not, you know, the big Party City ones you can get that like out to here, massive plasticky glasses.
Mm-hmm.
But these are her actual like prescription glasses, and they're incredible. So I love use your own fursuit eyes. Use your own fursuits. Use your own eyed fursuits.
I think those kind of fursuit eyes, they go as far as you can possibly get for a hyper realistic suit, because the eyes are going to move and react like eyes work. Because even 3D follow me resin eyes, there's always this sort of disconnect when you're always being watched. And that's just inevitable. You either have 2D eyes that look in one direction or 3D eyes that follow you. There's no in between, unfortunately. Even with the programmed like Arduino eyes, which I've seen a couple makers use, even those aren't quite the same because they have a set looping program. So use your own eyes, just add that little bit more life into suiting, I think.
Spice Mush, there we go, asks, what species would you like to see more of in the fandom?
Honestly, I would love to see more bizarre species, things like fish. I would like to see more bugs and insects because there's not enough buggy fursuits out there. Like at Megaplex, the cicada that Lemon Brat made, I had to fight the urge not to buy that cicada because I was like, it a bug, it different, it cool, more bugs, yeah. And I really want to see more species that people are like, that can't be a fursona, because me being me, I'm like, huh, challenge accepted. Like, I want to see more oddball species. I know there's a couple out there, like at Megaplex, the what is it called? I'm losing my brain. Mantis shrimp. The mantis shrimp that City Mutt made was walking around, and that suit is incredibly different and so weird in the best way. So I would like to see more stuff like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, like dogs, duchies, cats, dragons, they're cool, but let's go for different stuff.
The more weird and wonderful, the better. People find you online.
The best thing I can recommend is to always go to my website first, artbynefertiti.com. All of my social media links are right there on the follow me page, so you can verify it is in fact me, because I do have a bit of a problem with copycat accounts popping up. That's what happens. You reach a certain level of, I guess, internet fame. And at that point, there's always people that are like,
I want that person's life, so I'm just going to be them.
And they make an alternate account, like Nefertoddles or whatever. And people are like, yeah, that's clearly her. Okay, I'm going to follow that one. And they'll just follow the account. Like, check my website. I cannot encourage and stress that enough. And there's all the like pictures of my artwork on there. There's pictures of my fursuits. There's commission information. There's news and status regarding commission openings. There's how to get quotes. There's just tutorials, like everything and everything, anything and everything. There we go. Brain short circuit. Anything and everything that is Nefertiti is on my website,
which of course is linked below in the description, as well as your Twitter and your YouTube channel. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please do like and subscribe to enjoy all the wonderful, wonderful vibes. If you want to join us on Instagram is furry.trashpod, Twitter is ftrashpod. Nefertiti, thank you so much for coming on. I seriously really appreciate it. And thank you to people who sent in questions on Telegram and Twitter. There were so many of them that I had to stop looking at them because it was actually driving me nuts. I'm looking at Telegram now and I have 44 notifications of questions, and I'm just like, no, I'm not even going to try and tackle that. But thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. And do you have any advice for people still listening in?
Well, thank you for having me. The best advice that I can say is there's a lot of negativity. There's a lot of toxicity and drama out there in the world. You attract the energy that you put out into the world. So keep that in mind. The more positive and outgoing you are, find little things in life and smile at the little things, no matter how small. Did you see a pebble that looked like a heart? You know what? Smile at that pebble. That's a good thing. Always take the tiny happy things in stride, because you'll find that the little things become the big things.
And on that lovely, lovely note, thank you for tuning in to Furry Trash.